Olufemi stood alone at the reception hall of what was supposed to be the happiest day of his life. The guests whispered among themselves as his bride, Amara, was nowhere to be found. His phone vibrated with a text message that made his heart sink to the pit of his stomach. "I'm sorry, Femi, I can't do this. Kofi can give me the life I deserve. Goodbye." Kofi, his childhood friend, the man who had everything Olufemi didn't, wealth, connections, and now, apparently, his wife. Olufemi's hands trembled as he looked around the lavish hall he could barely afford. He had emptied his savings for this wedding, convinced that love would be enough to sustain them through the lean years while he built his business. His mother, Adana, approached with concern etched across her face. "My son, what's happening? Where is Amara?" The pain that flashed across Olufemi's eyes told her everything. The guests from both families began to stir uncomfortably. Amara's parents approached, confusion evident in their expressions. "She left with Kofi," Olufemi said, his voice hollow. "She's not coming back." The revelation sent shockwaves through the hall. Amara's father, Chief Enwasu, a respected elder in their community, hung his head in shame. His wife began to wail, embarrassment washing over them. The wedding that was meant to unite two proud Lagos families had become a public humiliation. As guests awkwardly dispersed, Olufemi's best man, Demola, stood by him, seething with rage. "This is not the end, brother," Demola whispered. "This is just the beginning." That night, as Amara and Kofi boarded a flight to Cape Town to begin their new life together, Olufemi sat alone in his modest apartment, staring at the business plan he had been working on for years. With renewed determination, he wiped his tears. "If money is what she wants," he whispered to himself, "then money is what I'll get." 5 years passed like a whirlwind of relentless work and calculated risks. Olufemi's tech startup, initially dismissed as a pipe dream, had revolutionized mobile banking across West Africa. His face graced the covers of business magazines, his name mentioned in the same breath as Africa's leading entrepreneurs. The pain of betrayal had fueled his ambition, transforming him from a humble developer into a formidable business magnate. His office overlooked Victoria Island, the heart of Lagos' financial district. As he reviewed acquisition documents for yet another company, his assistant, Folami, entered with his afternoon tea. "The new headquarters in Accra is ready for your inspection next week," she said, placing the steaming cup on his desk. "And your mother called to remind you about dinner tonight." Olufemi nodded, grateful for the family that had supported him through his darkest days. His mother Adana had never once said, "I told you so," though she had warned him about Amara's materialistic tendencies. Instead, she had become his rock, his confidant as he rebuilt his life. Demola, now his chief operating officer, burst through the door with excitement. "The Johannesburg deal is sealed. We're officially the largest fintech company in Africa." The men embraced, celebrating years of strategic planning coming to fruition. Olufemi's phone buzzed with congratulatory messages from investors and friends. Among them was a text from Chief Enwasu, Amara's father, who had, surprisingly, become a mentor and early investor in Olufemi's company after the wedding disaster. "You have made me prouder than any son-in-law could," the message read. What neither Olufemi nor his close circle knew was that across the continent, in a modest apartment in Durban, Amara scrolled through an article about Africa's newest billionaire, her fingers trembling as she traced the outline of Olufemi's confident smile on her cracked phone screen. Next to her, a suitcase lay open, containing the last of her belongings, a summons from debt collectors, and a one-way ticket to Lagos. The Lagos air felt different to Amara as she stepped off the plane. Heavier, laden with memories and regret. Her designer clothes had long been sold, replaced by simple cotton dresses. Her once manicured hands now showed signs of hard work, the result of 3 jobs that barely kept her afloat after Kofi's empire had crumbled spectacularly. Kofi's business dealings had turned out to be built on fraud. When authorities caught up, he fled to Europe, leaving Amara with nothing but mounting debts and a tarnished reputation. She had learned the hard way that wealth without integrity was a castle built on sand. She took a cramped bus from the airport, a far cry from the private cars she once enjoyed. Her destination, her parents' home, though she wasn't sure she'd be welcome. Chief Nwasu had reluctantly allowed her return, but her mother had been clear about her disgrace. "You chose diamonds over dignity," her mother had said during their last phone call. "Now you must live with that choice." As the bus navigated through Lagos traffic, a massive billboard caught her attention, Olufemi's company logo with his confident smile beaming down at the city. Her heart clenched. News of his success had reached her in fragments over the years, each update a painful reminder of her catastrophic mistake. She had rehearsed what she would say when she saw him again. Not to beg for reconciliation, she knew that door had closed, but to make amends somehow. Perhaps offering information about some of Kofi's hidden assets that could be recovered. It wasn't much, but it was all she had. What Amara didn't know was that fate had already set their paths to cross sooner than expected. As her bus stopped at a traffic light, a sleek black SUV pulled alongside. Through the tinted windows, she couldn't see that Olufemi sat inside, reviewing documents for his next big project, a community development initiative in the very neighborhood where Amara's parents lived. The charity gala at the Four Seasons Hotel marked the launch of the Olufemi Foundation, dedicated to technology education for underprivileged children. Lagos elite gathered in their finest, eager to associate with the man who had become a national icon of success. Amara hadn't planned to attend. She had been back in Lagos for 3 weeks, working as a waitress at an upscale restaurant while rebuilding her relationship with her disappointed parents. But when the restaurant was hired to cater the event, fate intervened. Dressed in the staff uniform, Amara moved through the glittering crowd with a tray of champagne flutes, her head down. She had almost made it through half the evening unnoticed when she heard his laugh, deep and genuine, just as she remembered. Olufemi stood surrounded by admirers, handsome in a tailored blue agbada. Beside him was a beautiful woman in a stunning gold dress, her hand resting comfortably on his arm. The sight made Amara's tray tremble slightly. Then their eyes met across the room. Recognition, shock, and something unreadable flashed across Olufemi's face. The conversation around him continued, but he had frozen, his gaze locked with hers. Demola noticed first, following Olufemi's line of sight. His expression hardened as he spotted Amara. "I'll handle this," he whispered to Olufemi, moving toward Amara with purpose. But Olufemi stopped him with a gentle hand. "No, it's time." He excused himself and approached Amara, who stood paralyzed, the champagne tray a flimsy barrier between them. Amara, he said, his voice neither cold nor warm, I never expected to see you here. She struggled to find her voice. Femi, I. Not here, he said quietly. Meet me on the terrace in 10 minutes. As he walked away, Amara noticed the woman in gold watching them curiously. With a sinking feeling, she realized this confrontation would be more complicated than she had imagined, especially with the document she carried in her pocket, evidence of Kofi's final betrayal that would change everything. The terrace overlooked Lagos' twinkling skyline, the night air heavy with jasmine and expectation. Amara arrived to find Olufemi alone, his back to her as he gazed at the city that had witnessed both their downfall and rise. 5 years, he said without turning. 5 years since you decided I wasn't enough. Amara stepped forward. I was foolish, Femi, blinded by things that don't matter. He turned, his expression unreadable. And now, what brings you back to Lagos, serving champagne to the wealthy you once aspired to join? Life taught me lessons I needed to learn, she replied, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Kofi lost everything through his dishonesty. He abandoned me just as I abandoned you. Olufemi's laugh held no humor, poetic justice. I'm not here to ask for forgiveness or a second chance, Amara said, pulling an envelope from her pocket. But you should know this. Before Kofi fled, he transferred his remaining assets to offshore accounts. This document shows he's been stealing from your company through a shell corporation. Olufemi took the envelope surprised. Why tell me this? Because doing the right thing matters more than revenge, something I learned too late. The terrace door opened and the woman in gold appeared. Femi, they're ready for your speech, she said, eyeing Amara with curiosity rather than hostility. Thank you, Folami, he replied. This is Amara. Recognition dawned on Folami's face. Oh, she extended her hand professionally. Your investment in education programs for young girls has been transformative for our foundation. Confusion crossed Amara's face. The funds from Kofi's hidden accounts, Olufemi explained. We discovered them 2 years ago. Rather than claim them, I established a trust in your name to fund education for girls. Your father has been helping administer it. Tears filled Amara's eyes as understanding dawned. While she had been plotting ways to make amends, Olufemi had already transformed her shame into something meaningful. You deserved better than what happened, Amara whispered. We all did, Olufemi replied. Including you, he handed her a business card. The foundation needs people who understand the cost of wrong choices if you're interested. As he walked away to deliver his speech, Amara realized that true wealth had never been about money. In losing everything, she had finally gained wisdom, and perhaps, just perhaps, a path to redemption.